Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you're listening live to 107.7 out of the beautiful city of New Orleans and 105.3 out of Mississippi to UFO, Paranormal, and United Public Radio Network. And this is the Angel Rock. And you may see another familiar face beside me. We are going to introduce Carolann in just a few minutes, but you guys know I always do the housekeeping things here. I see you all. We're going to say hi. Don't you worry once we get through the housekeeping. If you a little bit about myself, if you've never been here before, my name's Lorilei Potvin. I am a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, a registered nurse. I am well versed in near-death experiences, having studied them professionally and personally for over 40 years, and having had one as a toddler myself. I always say budding animal communicator, and then when Julie Jean Bassett is in here, she says, no, you're not, but I do communicate with animals. I'm also extremely well versed in the paranormal. I always say I didn't go looking for it, it found me. And we shared our story on the Travel Channel's Paranormal Survivor. You will see our own Michelle DeRoche in that episode, actually. I didn't know her at the time, so small world. You can find it on YouTube, all over the place. It's season 4, episode 9, called Demonic Hauntings. And if you guys like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends and family. I promise you it's not all just UFO-y and paranormal type things, although we do love those kind of topics. There's something for everybody on this network. It does stream to every country in the world, believe it or not. But 80% of our audience is audio only. So I always say, if you can't see us, you can't join the conversation, and we'd love to have you join us. So there's a few places I will go through in just a minute. We forgot to add one, Carolann. I'll do that when we're talking, because we should have 8, and we forgot to add the last one, so we'll do that. But that's how you can join the conversation. Actually, I'll go through them right now. You can go through my Facebook profile under Lorilei Potvin, the network Facebook page under UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. We are also streaming to the network YouTube channel by the same name. We got our main channel back. So again, UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio Network. We're streaming to my LinkedIn under Lorilei Potvin / The Angel Rock. We are also streaming to Instagram. Instagram cut out after an hour last week. Sometimes it lasts 2 hours, sometimes it doesn't. But you can find that right now under The Angel Rock, and then again / Lorilei Potvin. So if it does cut out, you guys, and I check back and forth because the Instagram chat does not come up with the rest, I will try to remind you at the hour mark. And best place usually is just Facebook or YouTube, usually the easiest in the ways I've named them. Our guest, we are streaming. We're going to try and do it on her Facebook while we're talking. It wasn't playing nice, but we are streaming to her YouTube channel, which is Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. So you can also watch there. What else do I want to tell you guys? Let's see. Oh, if you guys want to watch us on TV, we do have a channel for the network. It is on Roku. You're going to go to the channel store and type in UFO space P as in paranormal. There's a drop-down list, and we're looking for the 3rd or 4th one down. And you're looking for UFO, Paranormal, and United Public Radio, and that's how you can watch us on TV. And I forgot to add, you guys, this network has been around for 25 plus years. We stream multiple live hosts 7 days a week, and when it's not streaming live, the archive server kicks into the last 25 plus years, randomly picks great shows, and so we really are streaming 24 hours a day. So there's always something on UPRN, and we're so glad you guys could join us tonight. I always like to add the show after me tonight. Stay tuned. In 2 hours, it's The Light Gate with Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron. So they always have a great show and a big audience. So make sure you stay tuned. Got a great lineup for you guys tonight. Now, let me get into the bio here. I saved it. I got it on different pages, so I got to switch. Just give me a sec. And I'm so glad Carolann's on tonight. So our guest tonight is Carolann Iadorola. I hope I said that right. Did I say it right, Carolann?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Now I need glasses. This sucks, I hate wearing glasses, but I can't see small print. After a lifetime of exploring, and I didn't edit your bio. I started to, but it's such an excellent bio. So I'm going to read it. You're welcome. It says, after a lifetime of exploring high strangeness and living life as an empath, she embarked on a new journey with Ethereal Encounters Unveiled to share opinions, experiences, and powerful insights from authors, ufologists, psychics, and in the high strangeness genre who have stepped inside unknown universes. Her show, Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 2 hours, because you're right before Carrie Lynn and I now with Beneath the Hollow Moon. She features an eclectic mix of guests with unique perspectives and experiences from the paranormal world. Her goal is for you to embark on a journey that will leave you spellbound, enlightened, and even forever transformed. Ethereal Encounters Unveiled is your gateway to the unseen and the mystical. Dive into the world of the paranormal, supernatural, and inexplicable. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or simply curious, travel with Carolann beyond the veil to discover the mysteries that lie beyond our grasp. Carolann also owns and is the author of Sassy Townhouse Living, a lifestyle website dedicated to sharing innovative ideas and resources in home decor, food, beauty, and overall living. That's right up my alley because I am now in a townhouse too. She also holds a master's degree in education in instructional technologies and instructional design from East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania, and worked as a manager of training in corporate America. That's quite a bio. Welcome, Carolann.
Thank you.
That's why I didn't want to edit it. It had so much info in there, and it was worded so well, because sometimes I'll just kind of break it down. Yes, but that was an excellent bio.
Thank you so much. That means everything. Thank you. And thank you for having me here. I greatly appreciate it.
I had so much fun on your show when you had me on. I said, oh my goodness, I've got to have you on. Let's see if we can add you on Facebook here. Let's see if we can do that for you. I got to memorize where that was. I think, oh, I got it right away. Let's see if we can do it. I have it on my phone, but I don't have it on the little thumbnail. So let's see if it'll play nice. We'll cross our fingers. Hang on. Nope, still not let me do it.
Look, I don't know.
Do you want me to stream it to, you said LinkedIn maybe?
Yeah, I have a good viewership on LinkedIn.
Okay, let's do that. I did choose one LinkedIn. Oh, they're only letting me go to one LinkedIn. They're not letting me go to two.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Okay, well, I guess we're just going to hit Twitch up then. That's the easiest. I don't need it from there.
This when we're done all over the place. So,
yeah. So, Facebook is giving you such a hard time. Like it's not your fault. You fixed what was supposed to be fixed, and it still won't play nice.
They don't like me because I guess they don't like what I have to say sometimes. I don't know.
Too bad, right? The truth. Sometimes the truth. I think the truth is the most important. Never mind. Absolutely. Sometimes it hurts, but people need to hear it. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say hi to everybody that we got here. Ooh. Oh, puppy. I was going, what's that noise? My dog's at the end of the bed, so she usually shows up. You know what I want to do, though, too, before we say hi? You guys remember when I had Varla Ventura on? She's a very good friend of mine. We are having Jeff Belanger on in the summer. I love him. I found out about him from Carrie Lynn Shellhorn, who has Spirit Switchboard on Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Carrie Lynn and I are now doing a show on Thursdays. I forgot to mention that I sort of said it, but Beneath the Hollow Moon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're doing time travel, dimensions, and the Mandela effect. And we have one kick ass, I'm going to say that, show for Thursday night. Anyways, I met Jeff when we had a paranormal conference here last October. We didn't. I just was part of it with Carrie Lynn and many other people. And it was put on by Lucky Paranormal. They're doing another one this year. And Jeff he's an author, and he started putting out a magazine called Shadow Zine. And he picks an author every month to author his zines, as he calls them. And Varla wrote the third part. So the first one, I got to grab part one here. I believe it's The Mysteries of the Bridgewater Triangle. This was written by Jeff. So that's the first episode. It just came, so I haven't even had it, or I guess issue. I haven't even had a chance to read them, because you can get this at, I think it's shadowzines.com, or if you look up Jeff Belanger. This one is The Ghosts and Monsters of Cornwall by Richard, I think it's Edip. Estep, sorry, Estep. So that's this one. And Varla wrote the third one, Mark Twain's Ouija Mystery. And it was because there was a psychic, well, very intuitive, I believe, woman who actually connected with Mark Twain way back in the day and actually narrated a whole story about Mark Twain and who he was. It's a really fantastic story. She talked a bit about it when she was on a couple of weeks ago. So I thought I'd share this. You guys, you got to reach out and get them. They are awesome. So I had to say that for sure. Okay, so let's see who we got here. I'm already seeing people are going, they love your show too, Carolann. So we got Heidi Gall. We got Kurt W75. He says, hey, Laura, hope you're having a great Monday. I am, except we here in Canada, if you guys don't know, it's election day. I've already called the election long before the vote, so we'll see if I was right or not. We'll see. But, and we are in a monsoon practically. Like, I've never had this. Do you have an iPhone, Carolann?
I have an Android.
Okay. So I have an iPhone. I've never had this happen all day long. Like this morning, 6 messages to tell me we are in a rainfall warning. And now they've updated it to, what was the wording they used? It was crazy. I know it. Squall warning. And they kept sending it over and over and over just in case I didn't get it. I guess I've never had that happen. It's crazy. So
hopefully in the winter.
Sorry?
In the winter, I get squall warnings, but it's mostly for snow, not for rain.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised. It was crazy. So Heidi Gall says, hi, Lorilei and Carolann. Much love from Boulder. And she also added that UPRN love all the many topics and shows. Well, we love all of you here. Oh, we got Christopher. I haven't seen him in a long time. Christopher A. James. Good evening, Lorilei and Carolann. Julie Jean Bassett, were your ears ringing? Because I was talking about you earlier in the best way when I was doing my intro. You guys, I always give Julie Jean Bassett a huge shout out. If you guys are having problems with your pets, behavioral issues, or you're just wondering what they're thinking or whatever it may be, I have actually worked with Julie quite a few times. Like, she's helped me with my own animals. After my son died, his cat and him were so bonded, and she blows my mind with the healing she can do. She was able to communicate some of the messages to get through to her about what had happened with my son. Had one that was peeing in places that they shouldn't. That got nixed right away after we had a session with Julie. She also can reach out to animals across the Rainbow Bridge and human beings as well, Earthside, as well as the way of mediumship. Whoa. Yep. And she is also an incredible shamanic practitioner. I've had a session myself. We're going on 9 months ago. I will be booking another with her. Life changing. So this is my own words. She didn't ask me to do this. I am vouch for her everywhere. So if you guys want to check her out, it's juliejeanbassett.com. We got Julia Evans. Evening. You just caught us by chance. I know it's late over there. I know it's 11:30 in England. So thank you for joining us. Oh, hello. Who's this lovely little one?
This is Oliver. I'm going to definitely be hooking up with Julia. He was traumatized, badly abused, and I adopted him. And he's a boy. That's the only thing that's wrong with him. I see yours too.
This is Emmy. Emmy thinks she's a lap dog. She's not, but everybody knows Emmy because usually Emmy pops in, or Stephen Nicole, her name is, or Stevie, but she prefers Stephen Nicole. So Emmy just comes over. She heard me saying hi to Oliver. Well, Julie can help you. I am telling you, she'll blow your mind with what she can do, and she's so respectful.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait because
you may I'm just going to throw it out there and not put you on the spot, but I've had her on my show. I know she goes on other shows.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, I'll connect you too if you like.
Oh, please. Thank you. Thank you.
We've got Connie Martin. She says, hi, Lorilei. Let's see. Everybody's saying hi to one another. Kurt says, hey, Carolann, hope you're having a great day. Yes, UPRN is the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, where are we going here? Oh, we've got Kirby's 100. Hello. Let's see, I don't want to miss anybody. I'm trying to go slowly here. Okay, let's see. Oh, Heidi says, Richard Estep and Jeff just did a thingy for Shadows Inc. Richard lives in the same town as me, and he's genuinely a kind soul. Oh, wow, how cool is that? Oh, here we go. Kevin, were your ears burning? I was about to say it, so I'm glad I see you. I call him by his muggle name, as I say. So Z-Sun Dragon, a fellow Canadian, messaged me before the show, and Carrie Lynn, apparently on our episode last week, we had, it sounds almost like a robot voice that came through, and I just listened to it quickly. So good catch, and thank you for screenshotting or screen recording it for me. And Carrie Lynn, Kevin, I really appreciate that. I've got some weird EVPs live, like an epic one that Carrie Lynn was interviewing Rick McCallum, that's been involved, I think, with Friday the 13th, or I forget what horror movie, and he's a stuntman. And I was helping produce the show because I do that with people that are new, that aren't too familiar with the equipment. And I had my headphones in, and I was working on some resin, but the phone was like this close, but I had my eyes down, and Carrie Lynn said to Rick, have you ever had a spiritual attachment? And all of a sudden it sounded like, you know, when you're a little kid, or if you've had kids and you have chocolate milk or something delicious with a straw, and they're sucking it up through the straw and it's making that noise. And I went, who's doing that? I looked, nobody's drinking. I went, holy crap, that's an EVP. So I marked it, and I then screen recorded it and took a little chunk. It sounds like that, and then it almost sounds like a growl.
Those are scary.
Right at the point she asked Rick, have you ever had a spiritual attachment? It was crazy.
I don't like growling.
No, I don't. Oh, what happened there? My computer is acting crazy here. I was trying to get rid of the highlight, and it just brought up another program. Hang on, I don't think we met. Oh, hi, Michelle Wilfong. I just saw, Michelle, I got to give you a shout out on TikTok, your video from in March, because she lives in a haunted apartment. And normally I strike to TikTok, but they're being kind of naughty. I don't have a strike. I don't have anything, but I'm restricted for 30 days. And she's my mod over there, and she's amazing at it. And so you guys check her out on TikTok. But this video that came up, she's talking to everybody, and she's walking back and forth and telling everybody, welcome to my haunted apartment. I don't know if I'll have anything happen. I couldn't believe what came on the camera. It was like she even put, I think, in the comments, is this an angel or something? It literally was, oh, I'm getting goosebumps, white, and it just kind of fluttered by the camera. Oh. And she was in the back of the room.
I like that.
Yeah, that was crazy. Oh, Julie says, Emmy. And Kevin says, Z-Sun says, Oliver, love for Oliver. We're almost at the bottom. Good. Okay. So we will obviously, look at your comments and involve you guys. You got questions, comments, but I know what I want to ask you is, you said you have been, hi. I'm going to say hi on Instagram too. We got Bailey. It looks like Jan Lee. Welcome over on Instagram. So I wanted to ask you, so what have you got some crazy stories? Because from your bio, you said you have been surrounded by high strangeness your whole life, and also being an empath. So what kind of got you interested in all of this?
Excuse me, I'm just getting over that nasty
thing.
Both
of us, you were talking about that before the show.
Yeah, you might hear me coughing a little bit. I apologize, but thank you. It's been interesting, and I don't know. I think I was probably in my teens before I realized like what was going on. Some folks might have heard me talk about this before, but it was such an epic moment in my life, and it kind of changed everything moving forward. But as a child, I knew that I was different from everybody else, and that caused me to become like an introvert in a big way. So like, I never thought I would be able to do anything like interview people and talk about things, because I would immediately like have a panic attack. It was just awful. But I think I remember as far as 5 being an empath and being able to like walk into a room and just know what other children, adults were feeling.
Mhm.
And I became, just the observer, basically. I just sat back and observed life. I didn't really know what else to do because my family was not like involved in that. Although my grandmother was, she was born in Ireland, and she was very much, um, I'd say she had abilities that she didn't again want to talk about. But at night, when she would tell me like Irish folktale stories, she would kind
Ooh.
of, yeah, it was really cool. She would clue me in, especially, I think she was able to see the dead because she would talk to me about seeing, I had an uncle who passed away. His name was Tony.
I'm
And she
sorry.
would say she saw, thank you, she saw Uncle Tony on the Cochabawa, which is this Irish
I
mythical.
can never say that word. I know. Please explain though, please.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she started when I was really young telling me these stories, and only me, not my siblings. So we kind of connected on that vibe. But she would tell me stories about the banshee, the Cochabawa, and she would tell me when she saw the banshee, and she said she saw him before my uncle's passing, stuff like that. So I kind of grew up with at least her, the connection.
Can you explain for people that may not know what the Cochabawa is?
Sure. The
I know
Cochabawa,
what it is, but for people that don't know, yeah.
yeah, it's an Irish myth, a traditional belief, and it's this wagon that comes to pick up the dead, the souls of the dead. And it always arrives, typically you'd see the banshee, which means it's a warning of someone going to die, and the banshee would howl in your backyard and give you that warning. And then the Cochabawa would come and cart your soul to wherever, the underworld, the above world, wherever. So my grandmother was always telling me these things, and it was kind of interesting because I knew not to talk about them to anyone. Not that she ever told me, but I just kind of knew. And so that was a very cool connection that I had with her. I think we connected intuitively, and that was kind of why. So I went through my life just being this observer of things. And I always was able to see auras as well. And I just thought everybody could see them. I thought it was normal until one day I mentioned it to a friend, and I said, wow, your aura is really beaming today, green and blue. And she's like, my what? And I was, again, in my teens, maybe 12, 13, somewhere around there. And that's when I realized that not everybody sees them. So again, I just kept it quiet. And until I was about 16, I always was this avid reader of like all things high strangeness and philosophy and whatnot.
Mhm.
And I was reading Cosmic Consciousness by Buck. I was sitting on my front porch, and it was a beautiful day. And I used to love to go outside to read. And I read this one passage. I was probably midway through the book. And all of a sudden, I had this mystical experience. I don't know what it is till today. I mean, I kind of sort of know. I think I just astro projected out of myself, but it was there was a euphoric feeling that came along with it.
Mhm.
If now I've never done anything psychedelic or anything like that, never did those types of things my whole life, just in case folks are like, maybe she was tripping or something. But I felt like I left my body, and during that moment, I had this like download of information, and I don't remember all of it. And it's funny because sometimes I'll get bits and pieces still all
Mhm.
these years later. But the one thing I remember specifically is the phrase observer, and like always be the observer. So, and that was weird because that's how I felt my whole life, but I never used that language. Like I just thought I was introverted as a
Mhm.
child. So I kept rereading the passage, trying to get that euphoria back. because it was like something I only felt once before in a dream. I had like a very lucid dream. And other than those two times, I've never felt like I OBE'd or anything like that until Preston Dennett, whom I absolutely adore, and Dolly. Preston wrote a book about OBEs, out of body experiences. And I started practicing his techniques. And I was able to have one right after that. It wasn't very long, but it was awesome nonetheless. But the other time was in a lucid dream where I felt the same exact thing. I was swimming in this ocean with this woman creature. She wasn't really a mermaid. She had legs, but she was able to breathe underwater, and she had long flowing hair, and she was ahead of me swimming, and I was just following her, very happy, excited to see where we were going. And she turned around and smiled at me and just exuded this amazing light, like underwater. Mind, we were underwater. Well, my husband came and woke me up for something, and I was so upset because I was like at the best part of this dream. So after talking to him, I said, I'm going back to bed for a little bit. And he was like, okay. So when I closed my eyes, I said, please take me back to that moment. Please take me back. I want to go back. And when I fell asleep, I actually went back to the exact place that I was in. And we were just swimming off to this supposed magical undersea world. And all I felt was absolute euphoria. So those two times in my life really impacted me in a great way, especially being an empath.
Do you think she was your guide? Do you think she was one of your guides, maybe?
I don't know. It's the strangest thing. I don't, maybe she could very well have been. I don't recognize the face. Like I see her as clearly as I do now, as I did then. So, there's so many awesome people popping in.
Just wave while you talk, and then we'll talk after. Say hi in a minute.
So, she could have been a guide, absolutely. Never saw her again after that, though.
You know why I asked that? Well, first of all, say hi. So we got Carolann Iadorola here. I already shouted her out again. She is having an amazing guest on Friday. I am so excited. And I said, I want to have her on too, because I've gone on and on about this lady. You guys have heard me talk about her, Beverly Rhodes. She is an incredible psychic, medium, energy healer, teacher, you name it. She's originally from South Africa, lived a horrific life as a child, and now lives in the UK. And she has her channel under the Sean Atwood channel on YouTube. She's incredible. And like lots of alphabet soup organizations around the world work with her to solve unsolved crimes, find missing people, all kinds of things. She's absolutely lovely. And Carolann is having her on 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this Friday on Spirit Switchboard. So I had to
watch that.
And Mish is here. I always got to tease Mish. Mish is over in the future. It's Tuesday morning over there. I call Mish my birthday twin. Her birthday's August 14th. Mine's August 15th. And with the time change. And then, she does resin. She does resin like I do. She makes organite, all kinds of things. So I'm glad she's able to pop in. Now, going back to what you shared, nobody ever believes me. But I was so shy as a little kid. I used to hide in my closet if people came around. I wouldn't have said a word ever. Like I was terrified to speak, so introverted and quiet. And then when I was about 16, 17, I had the most beautiful boyfriend at the time. You remember Duran, Simon Le Bon?
Oh, yeah.
He was better. He looked like him, but better looking, and was about 6'5". And he used to bring me to parties, and he was a social butterfly, and I'm sitting in the corner. And I almost wonder if it was spirit now, because I was literally having this conversation in my head and hearing, you don't need to sit in the corner, you know. And all of a sudden it was like clarity. Yeah, why am I just sitting here? And it was literally like, you haven't shut me up since, and I'm going to be 60 in August.
Awesome.
But the guides, as reason I asked, because I too have had high strangeness around my life, my entire life. I never really connected with my gifts till we had our paranormal experience, but I was using them my entire life. I had best friends around me that when I shared that I now work as a psychic medium, and I thought they were going to think I'd lost my mind, they just go, "Oh, that doesn't surprise me." Like, and I said, "Why? Well, you always knew things. I just didn't know how you knew it," kind of thing. And as a nurse, same thing. Like I would literally hear it and know and go to a room I wouldn't go to. I remember one time I walked in and this poor man was having a cardiac arrest as I walked in. Would have been the last room I checked. It just came out of report, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
As a little kid, I remember probably about 4 years old at night, parents put you to bed, and I'd be in there talking with these people at the end of my bed, all of them. And I was given this name. And for years, I would ask people, have you ever heard this name before? I've asked people from different cultures, different countries. Nobody had ever heard it. I now know who she was. And the name she gave me was one of my main guides that was with me. So that's not that I'm trying to compare your experience to mine, but just from the feelings you explained and the experience that you had, only you would know. So it wouldn't be for me to say, "Oh yeah, that was your guide." That's why I asked you.
No, it very well could have been. I wished I would have seen her again. I mean, you know, in a dream, I never was able to connect again after that. But yeah, very interesting. And, you know, you're an empath too, obviously, and you know how painful that can be. And I knew growing up that I had to do like certain things to kind of protect myself because like putting yourself out there was just too painful, you know, connecting. And then you've got these spiritual like vampires that just suck the soul out of you. This people like that out there, unfortunately, and they're attracted to people that are empaths. So you have to like, you know, always protect yourself. And I learned some things that I thought helped me a lot along the way, like connecting with nature is a big one. I still do that. That's a real big one for me. I don't live in a wooded area, but there's woods a block away. So I always make sure to spend some time walking the dog back there. And that helps a lot. And other things like setting boundaries, you discover how important that is to do. Also like detaching. And that took me probably, I think detachment for me was the hardest to do. I found it very, especially for people that I cared about and loved, but even those people you need to detach from, like emotionally. So if you can't detach from people physically, like if they're your relatives or close friends, like you learn how to do that emotionally. And it's not like you're putting up a protective wall, you're just protecting yourself and your spirit, your energy, like that kind of thing. And that went along with shielding too, you know, again. And then another big one was mantras. I studied TM as a teenager. That was huge for me.
When you say TM, so people know what you mean by that.
Transcendental meditation.
Okay.
Yeah, that was huge. When I was a teenager, it was like really surfacing into like the public sphere. And I found that so helpful, just meditating daily. And I learned you don't, like back then, they would tell you you need to meditate like 2 to 3 times a day, 20, 25 minutes. But I discovered you don't really need to meditate that long. You can meditate for 30 seconds and still reap tremendous benefits from it. So I have this.
I agree.
Right? I'm sure you're the same. I had this mantra that was given to me, and I still use it decades ago. And when my kids are little, because they tell you don't give your mantra away to anyone, like it's supposed to be yours and yours alone. But I gave it to my kids, And it helped to them when they had a tummy ache, things like that. I would meditate with them and teach them how to do that. So that was and is still huge for me in terms of protecting myself. And
Well,
I
I think
think,
it's important too to find what works for you. Like when you, by the way, everybody is having a field day in the chat about Duran Duran.
yeah,
Yes, they've got them going through their heads and you name it. But when you were talking about auras, so I always say both of my boys, I had two boys, I still have my eldest son, and I always say they grew up with the woo woo. I think most of our kids did when we've grown up the way we have and what we
absolutely.
are. But I never forgot, I hurt my back when my oldest was very young. And I was in bed for almost 10, 15 years before
Oh, good Lord.
I was and had small kids. And, I tried to hide it as best as I could from the boys. And I've never forgotten this. So my eldest is going to be 30 in July, but he had to be about 3.5. And he came up to me and he said, Mommy, he said, your back hurts today, right? And I said, oh, sweetheart, well, actually it does. But why do you say that? Like, I thought I had really hidden it well. And he goes, because normally you have really, really pretty lights all around your head, and today it's just gray.
Mm,
So he could see them too. He could see
wow.
auras, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, well, kids can't help but grow up with the woo woo. Like I never crammed it, as I call it, the woo woo, not disrespectfully, but they can't help but grow up that way. I think when their moms are kind of, and dads, I shouldn't just say moms and dads that are connected in, or grandparents, like, because that was a question I was going to ask you. Did you feel like you had a safe space? Because a lot of people that feel like you're different, right? You just don't feel maybe like you belong sometimes. And a lot of people go through that alone, but it sounds like you had a beautiful connection with your grandmother. Or am I reading that wrong? Or from what you
Yeah,
said?
I did. Unfortunately, she, like many others, turned to alcoholism, and that kind of, made her sick and
Mhm.
changed things. But there were a lot of years where we had a great relationship that I'm blessed for before that. And I think a lot of people that are gifted turn to drugs and alcohol because they don't really know how to process it a lot of times. And they just want to hide their pain and abilities. Because, again, my entire family, Italian, Irish, they weren't having any of that stuff.
Mhm.
So, that's like a big burden to bear on your own. And unfortunately, she down the road, turned to that, and it ended up not, not
Yes,
being the
I know what you're saying. I've been around it personally
yeah,
and professionally my entire life. But I always say too that nobody wakes up one day and says, I want to be a drug addict or an alcoholic. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I look at it as, and I think it's part of the journey of when we follow down this path, that there's a lot of inner healing that needs to take place, right? Like when you were talking about boundaries with certain people, but also I, I find for whatever reason somebody gets involved with that, they have a lot of pain, I believe, and they're medicating it because it's too painful to go there. The other thing people, oh, I'm even feeling the wind from outside. There's thunder and lightning. There's all kinds of stuff going on outside right now. But I was going to say that, and it's up to that person, should they choose to work with somebody that can help them, or if they're able to do it on their own. And it's not for anybody, and I know you're not saying this, it's just something I've noticed, is it's not for anybody, because you will see people that think, well, why don't you just stop? Well, that if they could, I'm sure they would. But
right.
and it may seem, people will look at, well, I don't know why you're drinking over that. Well, you didn't walk a mile in their shoes. You didn't
Exactly.
do what you did, they did. And to them, it's a lot of pain, right?
Yeah.
But I too have been around this my whole life. So Kevin's adding here, drawing, writing can also get you into that meditative mind space, feeds my soul, I always say.
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
100%.
I don't like to journal, and I know why, because again, dealing with some of these relatives, and a lot of pain gets caused to a lot of people around you that deal with somebody with alcoholism. And I remember the first time I did, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop. And I was like, ended up filling up a whole journal, and it's like, nope, I'm not ready to take that cork out of that genie bottle yet. But I do write. I enjoy writing. That's how I found out about automatic writing.
Yeah.
Because once you start, and if you let yourself go, and then you look back at the page and you go, where did that all come from? So have you had spooky stuff though? Like you mentioned that you've got an interest in ufology and the paranormal, or did things just sort of evolve from what you've shared now?
Yeah, I've never had any UFO encounters. I've seen strange lights and things like that, but who hasn't? But I've had more what you'd call like spooky stuff in my life than witnessed and felt a lot of that through the years up until I forget who I was talking to. Oh, it was Sherry Lee.
Carrie Lynn.
I always screw up her name.
It's okay. She's Carrie Lynn and I'm Laura Lee, spelt like Lorelei. So
I don't know why I call her Carrie Lynn instead of Sherry. It's like a brain thing. Not enough shelf space up here.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was interviewing her, and I think we were talking about my husband because he had passed not long ago, three and a half years ago. Carrie Lynn. Sorry, Carrie Lynn.
All good.
See? Sherry Lynn. And I felt a push behind me. Like I felt a push like that. And
you were interviewing Carrie Lynn?
Yeah. I don't know if she remembers that.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for her, but I'm sure she does.
Oh, it was weird. And I stopped what I was doing and I'm like, did you see that? Like it was. So yeah, this stuff. I think that
she remembers. She just said, "Well, I knew she would remember while we were talking."
It was great having you. I would love to have you back too.
Carrie Lynn is one of the. I am a medium as well, but Carrie Lynn is one of the most incredibly gifted, humble mediums I have ever met. And she never toots her own horn or anything, but I am telling you, you guys, holy cow, she will blow your mind, the things she knows. And that's why I said, I know she would remember if you felt that push from me.
I have to schedule a reading with her too. I just have to do this. But yeah, so stuff like that has always here and there and everywhere happened to me. I realized that like all of us have intuitive abilities, everyone on the planet. And I always wanted to work on that and kind of increase my intuitive abilities. And I thought through meditation, it would be a great way to do that because we always hear so much jibber jabber going on, and that blocks our ability to really tap into our intuitive energy. And I think meditation is and still is teaching me how to listen to that voice.
I call it my workspace, and I agree 100%. And then I'm going to read this comment 100% I think that once you're able to meditate, it doesn't take as long, and there's many different paths to meditation. You will meet people that will tell you, no, the only way to meditate is for 3 hours on top of a mountain top in the lotus position. That's what works for you. And that's a beautiful thing. But I too, if you were busy, and there are times it's 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. If I've got a lot of time, then yeah, I will spend that time, but I call it my workspace. I'm just going to share Carrie Lynn's comment. She said, thank you. Please know Spirit Switchboard door is open for you to join me too. I would love to be back on your show. See? Mm-hmm.
I will be emailing you very soon. Mm-hmm. It was such a gift to get to know her, talk to her.
My son, I've not said this on air, And I've never seen Carrie Lynn work professionally. We were chit-chatting one day, and my son that passed away in January came through. It was one of the
Oh,
biggest gifts I have ever received. And she's met my son before in person. And I know how much she loved him. And yeah, it was such a gift. And the beauty in it was, she had said to me, I'm sorry, Carolyn, I'm going to let a few secrets. It's not a secret, but she said, yeah, Justin is taking me through your house. I go, oh God, don't look at the mess. And then the things she described, I already knew how good she was, but the things she knew and what came through, what my son was telling her, it was either some things that she confirmed for me, a few things that I'd already wondered or felt or picked up, but it was so mind-blowing. And it wasn't like we were trying, we were just in the middle of it, and all of a sudden, like, and that's the first time that's ever happened. We've been friends for over 2 years, and it was such a cool gift, and I'm so grateful for her. And I would not doubt that you felt that push behind your chair when you guys were talking.
It was a push too. It wasn't just like a little, like my chair actually jerked forward. So that was so cool. I love when stuff like that happens. It doesn't scare me or anything like that. So
we should pause for 1 second, put a pin in that, because I always forget to do this. Usually people are getting really good about reminding us, so I got to do our station ID.
Oh yeah,
we're at the top of the hour. So you guys, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Angel Rock. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin, and my amazing guest is also a fellow UPRN host. She actually hosts her show, Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right before Carrie Lynn Shellhorn and I's new show, which is Beneath the Hollow Moon, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can listen to us on 105.3 FM in Mississippi and 107.7 FM out of the beautiful city of New Orleans. I'd like to thank Joe Montaldo and UPRN for providing this wonderful space that we have here with so many hosts that bring so many wonderful people together in the audience with the hosts, and just love y'all. So thank you. You guys go from show to show. You guys, we're all like one big happy family here, and we love having you. So thank you. Thank you. So actually, Carrie Lynn said, Justin, that was my son's name. She goes, continues to be so sweet and gentle. And he's so powerful from the other side, because like, it's not wishful thinking. He has let so many people like left them things that are just irrefutable. Like, it's not just me as a mom missing him. And that's the beauty in it, right? I think our loved ones I don't think of it like I don't know about you, but I was always taught, being raised Catholic, I say I'm a retired Catholic now, but that heaven was way up here. But I think it's just this close to us. It's just another dimension over, if you will. What do you think?
I think that's so well said.
Mm-hmm.
After interviewing so many folks that have had NDEs, which are near-death experiences, for folks that don't know that term, I'm like fascinated with interviewing people that have had them. Mm-hmm. Every story is similar, but yet so unique. And I always get full body chills listening to I just interviewed Peter Pangore. Hope I'm saying his name. No, there's no E at the end. I think it's
Let me turn my ringer off. I forgot to do that before the show. Give me a sec here. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll mute it. Go ahead. Please share your story.
No worries. And I encourage everyone to watch that interview, because out of interviewing over 24 people, I would say, without counting, his encounter, his experience, and the verbiage he uses to describe it is the most spine-chilling. You cannot help but be hooked into every word. I talked to him for 2 hours, and I was like this. Like, it was just, so I recommend folks go look at that, because it's life-changing. And so NDEs are, and I know you've talked to so many folks that have had them as well. So yeah, heaven, NDEs, you're right. It's this thin veil that separates us.
Well, what I was going to share, one of the best channels I have found for a really great collection of NDEs, because what people forget and I really believe this, we have the NDE that we need to have if it sounds like that for whatever reason, and they're not identical, because you will hear so many people talk about this. There's a YouTuber called Next Level Soul podcast.
That all the time.
Yes. So he has a whole playlist. There was one lady he interviewed a while back that now I haven't seen it in probably about good almost a year. She has had 4 NDEs throughout her life. None either the same.
Yeah.
I forgot to add this. I'm going to throw this in because I forgot about this. And she's right. She even filmed it. She said, my son made her light flicker. She filmed it, like got it on film. And she said, and I heard him laugh within the first week he transitioned.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Julie says she loves the Next Level Soul podcast too.
Yeah.
I gotta see what Mish said something here. She said, my first meditation, I think that's meditation, not medication. I think it's meditation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mish. Experience with real meditation. I sat the whole time with my back straight. Best experience for herself. Yep. Whatever works for you. But there was something else she talked about, something red. I think I saw. She was talking about something red, and I think I'm trying to catch it here, like a red mist or something.
Oh.
Let's see if I go slow enough here. And that she said after saw a red fog around the forest. Interesting. So Kevin says he can visualize what Mish was saying. And let's see. Hello, Del Lessie. That's my partner. He's in the chat. He was up here while you were talking, and I'm going, I'm thinking, what are you doing in here? But he's trying to tell me about the thunder and lightning. Like, I'm surprised you guys can't hear it. It's really, really, really loud. So let's hope our internet behaves itself. So if for some reason, you guys, I'm prepared. I have 3 devices. I will be back on here. We're just going to ask our loved ones on the other side and our team to just make the internet flow nicely till the end of our show.
So far, so good.
So you said you haven't had any UFO experiences, but you've experienced lights. Now, what about what would typically be known as ghosts or cryptids or anything like that?
Spirit for sure. Definitely spirit. One I interpreted as not so good, and the others just the opposite. One happened during meditation, and I want to put this out there to folks that just in case they're meditating and something like that happens to them. I was sitting meditating. I was in a very deep meditation, and all of a sudden next to me, I felt something sit, and it wasn't a good feeling. And I felt it starting to like almost like a walk-in kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that happened, I at the time panicked, didn't know what it was. And I just jumped up and I immediately started praying. Again, Catholic, that's what we did and do. I still pray. We all do in our own way. And it immediately left. That was the only negative experience that I ever had meditating. But if you think about it, you're in such a state that
you're open.
Exactly, you're open. It's not a theta state, but it's close. I guess it would be as close to that as it could be. And
could be in theta, deep theta, where it moves. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at it. That just something was in the neighborhood that wasn't that great. Other than that, I've had all, and I recently in January had a quantum healing session with Candace Crawl Goldman, who was an apprentice for Dolores Cannon. Oh my goodness, I'm the worst.
So QHHT then. Okay.
It wasn't QHHT. It's her version of it. She kind of branched out after Dolores passed and whatnot. But no, I think she did it before. But long story short, I had the most phenomenal session with her. Again, it's a video. You guys could check it out on Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Not the session, but where we talked about it. And I kind of had a past life thing too, which was trippy. Never had that happen. So that was really interesting to experience that. I never had like any, well, I've had flashes of what my past life was, but I always just chopped it off to my imagination. You know, we all do that when we think these things or feel these feelings. We tend to be like, we blame ourselves and go, oh, we were just imagining that, or it was something you saw on TV. No, that's not always the case. And I had to learn that lesson to trust myself
Yeah,
and
but
my,
it's hard, right? You can't just say, yeah, now I trust it and rewire all my programming I've had since the day I was born on this earth, right? Because that's why it's called the paranormal, because it's nothing that people, I always say that the paranormal to me, like people, what I always thought was just a normal life living on this planet. When you crack open the door to the paranormal, and that's anything that wouldn't be considered within the norm, it is infinitely, vastly, so ginormous compared to
yeah.
what I thought life was. Yeah. So you gotta rewire all that, right? And it takes time, I think, to trust what we're receiving versus we've been told our whole life, well, that's just your imagination. Anything that you've been told that, like, don't be silly. Same thing. I don't know about you, but I was told as a little kid always, no, ghosts don't exist. There's nobody under your bed. There's no monsters. But now I truly 100% believe every child, especially the younger they are, they're closer to where we all come from, as I call back home. All children, I think, especially very young, like toddlers, preschoolers, can see spirit, as can animals.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And you're exactly correct. It's that rewiring of that conditioning that we all grew up. Like, I went to Catholic schools and it was
So did
beaten.
I. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it was slapped out of me with yardsticks and stuff. So, it took decades for me to be able to come to grips with that it's not my imagination. Like, one example, I was always getting smacked around because I was told that I was daydreaming in school. Smacked around, but then I realized that I wasn't daydreaming. I think I was having these mini out of body experiences as a kid. Because after I would get yelled at for it, I would try to tell them that I wasn't daydreaming. Oh, no, you were daydreaming and I saw you. You look like you disappeared. Well, yeah, I probably did.
If you had made the class more interesting, I might have stayed here.
And, again, terrible that you had to have that beaten out of you as a kid.
Mm-hmm. I was never beaten in school. I can say that. I was never beaten in Catholic school. They did have the strap. Yeah. Julie says she agrees, kids and animals. Now I'm going to go up a little bit higher. So Mish was explaining too about her experience. She said, I'll highlight it. She said, I opened and closed my eyes, seeing the red fog. Fourth time it was gone. I said, oh my gosh, I don't believe this. And then she's sharing, she thinks, I feel it stopped because of my disbelief, right? Because your literal brain kicks in and says, there's no way this is possible.
Exactly.
But Dell asked a question, or he didn't, he made a comment. When I was asking you about experiences, have you ever had experiences, say, with little people or fairies, and again, just asking out of interest, like, if you had one, great. And if you haven't, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, of course. Not so much with fairies or little people, other than dreams. I've had a lot of dreams about fairies and like those little angelic kind of beings, but I've never like seen them or witnessed them in the real world. I wish I had. I've seen video of it and it always looks so awesome.
I have a crazy story. No, I didn't exactly see the fairies, but I was on a retreat. I call it the Voldemort group. I won't say what the name was. But the long story short is I went on a retreat to Colorado, Heidi Gall. I wish I would have known you back then. And so there were people from all over the world that went to us. It was a pretty big group on Facebook. And there was this beautiful sitting area. It was kind of off. I wish I could remember the name of it. Obviously, Heidi, you would know. It's kind of a hippy dippy type ranch, but really organic food. It's a beautiful place to hold a retreat. And we were sitting outside when we first got there the first day, and there was, all these shrubbery and plants and stuff. And all of a sudden we noticed this almost like a fairy garden type house. And it was covered in spider webs, and it had just rained. But when we went around the back of it, there were flowers. It was hard to see. There was this little tiny hole. And we were all talking, and all of a sudden I really felt like, I wonder if we should give the fairies a crystal. And so somebody had a quartz. I swear, and I wasn't the only one that saw this, and we didn't know how we were going to get it in because we didn't want to disturb the spider web around it. But there was a little hole, and other people witnessed this. I swear on my kids' heads. It was like a double pointed almost quartz crystal. As we put it in the hole, now I can't say it's a fairy. I don't know what did it. Something grabbed the end of it and just, it was gone right inside there. I don't know what happened. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you. It was one of the craziest experiences I'd ever experienced. Yeah, it was crazy. Mm-hmm. We saw UFOs at this place too. That we were there for a weekend. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was crazy. There was all kinds of stuff. Hi, Sherry Madigan. She says, hi, Lorilei, Carolann, and all. Oh, Heidi Gall says that's a Colorado vibe. So many towns. Did you hear anything like a hummingbird? Are you asking? And Julie says she loves it. Julie Jean Bassett. Do you mean when that happened, Heidi? No, we didn't hear anything. Like it had just rained. And I remember for some reason it was so important. It felt like, because I was the one that had the idea about the crystal, I didn't want to disturb the spider web. It was so perfectly placed over this. It was like a rock house, but it was well camouflaged because there were all these shrubs and flowers. And you really could just sort of see from the front. But when we went around the back, it was like there was this perfect little opening in the web that led into this hole underneath. And it just went shoo, right in. I've never experienced anything like that before. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if I've ever told you this too. It's interesting, and I'm sure it was very scary for you. And I'm glad that you shared what happened in that meditation, because my doorway into the path that I'm now on was through a terrifying paranormal experience. Like I have had a lot of experience with really dark, negative things. I even remember asking my Akashic Records mentor, because I ran into somebody that I would swear is possessed, like could not say the name Jesus, God, angel, anything. Sweetest person on the planet. But when they were under whatever they were under, I saw them levitate on the camera, swear down on my kids' heads. They also, it wasn't them. I never want to look in the eyes of another human being and see that look. It was just pure evil. They were looking at their kid that was an adult. The kid was rolling over on the floor crying in pain. The animals were crying. It was terrible. And then on top of it, I actually called a friend that was on the West Coast that was awake. Now, he didn't see the levitation, but he saw everything else. Anyways, I was sitting there really thinking about this throughout the middle of the night. And I remember it was about 3 hours later, so it was about 5 a.m. And again, raised Catholic, right? Well, I don't think there's anything wrong if prayer, people need to pray. There's nothing wrong with it. I remember in my head sitting there thinking, I feel like I need to say the Our Father for her. So I started thinking it, and I kid you not, I've had the weirdest life, but we do when we go into these type of things, right? I got a message that said, cut that effing out. I know what you're doing. And this person did not live in Canada. They were in the US, West Coast, like closer to Mexico than Canada. I still probably have the messages. And then I was like flabbergasted at the time. And then about an hour later, I got another message on Messenger that said, it's time. And then I felt like I got mad. I got really mad. I remember writing back, for what? Never heard anything again about it. But I even talked to my Akashic Records mentor about this. Like I said, why why I never wanted to work with dark things. I always
Yeah.
made that so clear. Even when I met my partner, I said, I only want to work with angel cards. I only want to do anything that has to do with the light. I want nothing with the dark. And it was interesting that she shared this. And I don't say it egotistically, but she had said, going with my permission, going into the records, she said that just sometimes people that work within this field, um, obviously we have good, we have bad, we have dark, we have light. Sometimes the darker things need light shined in that area. And I guess this is something I had agreed to do. But I will tell you why I believe what she said too, because she asked with my permission, would I be okay with working with spirit? She teaches the masters, teachers, and loved ones is who we connect with the Akashic records. And she actually asked to dissolve any prior agreements, contracts, or anything with this person, because I did know this person. And we never had an argument. We never had a fight. We never had anything. And we're still friends, but not, we hardly ever speak. It was literally like everything just kind of melted away after that. I couldn't make this up. Yeah. So there's a lot, I guess, we don't know on the other side. I always say when we go back home, I guess we'll know the answers ourselves.
True.
Yeah.
I try to avoid the darker side of things.
Yeah, I don't care for it either.
Yeah, I don't care for it. Although I did have a conversation with Nathaniel Gillis. I think it streamed about, because on Friday I stream from 3 to 5 for folks that can't make the lives. So I always try to,
nice.
I always try to, Michelle, she's, gosh, I love that woman. She offered that to me because not a lot of people can make the live, obviously. And I like to have an avenue for them. And Nathaniel was one of those, couldn't make the live. So I had a conversation with him that was highly disturbing on many levels. He's a professional demonologist and a paranormal researcher. Brilliant man, absolutely brilliant. And I don't use that word a lot, but he is, he and I talked about the possibility of UFOs being either a demonic deception or angelic guides. And he has such a scholarly approach to this topic that I didn't mind talking to him about it, because it wasn't, it didn't scare me. It was just a really good scholarly conversation. His method, like it's almost like, well, it is the scientific method approach. And after that, I just, it made me wonder, and it really made me question if these orbs that we're seeing, these entities, are not demonic in nature. I mean, you folks really need to go watch that if you're interested, because
So how can they watch? How can they watch on Fridays?
Oh, if you go to YouTube and put in Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, it should automatically come up. If not, my other business, Sassy Townhouse Living, is kind of tied to it. So you can search either one of those phrases and you'll see my channel. And again, you have it running across the screen.
I was just going to say that. No, I am going to share this because Dell, I remember when that was the one person I had said, I don't ever want to work with anything dark, nothing but the angel cards and what have you. And he did say this to me. And if it resonates with anybody, that's great. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But he did say this to me, Laura, if you're going to be working in this field, he said, you need to know both, basically, the light and the dark, so you know the difference. I don't know, like, I think it was important to hear that. But I also know many people who work with just within the light. And I think we work where we're meant to work, where we've been called to, is what I'm saying.
Nathaniel brings up so many valid points that these entities are so good at what they do that they often camouflage. And a lot of people think that they're working with it. This is why we all need to be careful. We all need to use protection, protect your energy, your spirit. And trust me, I'm no authority like you guys are, but I do know certain things. And he made such valid points about what good deceivers and parasitic entities these things can be. And it made me not want to, because there's a thing called psionics now that's big, where they're connecting telepathically with these entities, these UFOs, these ETs, these biologics. And we need to be careful of that as well, because they're, again, disguising themselves as angelic orbs, and they're not. And you have to listen to Nathaniel to understand, because he explains it like I never could. But and I actually started rewatching my own interview with him, because there was so much said that I really wanted to understand. And again, not dark, not scared. Well, dark. I guess it was kind of dark, but not scary dark. More on an intellectual level of trying to understand what are these things that we're seeing in the night sky. They're not always angelic.
No, and it'll be I like, again, I'm going to bring up Beverly Rhodes. That's why I was so drawn to her. They have a ufology conference. They're having another one over in the UK this month coming up, May. Last year they had 1,000, and they had really incredible experience. One person in particular was able to say when these contact was going to happen. They were in telepathic communication. And I have to also say, there's a few comments here, and I have to say with Kevin, because I really feel this. Now, I think we need to be respectful. And again, if it resonates with anybody, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. I think we need to be respectful, but I also have the belief that we've been given dominion. And whatever belief system that somebody holds dear, near and dear, for myself, it would be God, whatever, some people, the universe, could be Buddha, could be, some people may not have that belief system, but standing in the firm knowledge, right? We are all one, we are all here. And I believe we've been given dominion. I also think there's different dimensions and things where certain things don't belong, but they still will try. Whether it's energy they're trying to harvest, whatever it may be, but standing firmly in that belief, right? As well as, I also encourage people, if you don't know what you're dealing with or how to deal with it, there are people always that can help you, because my story starts with the paranormal, not mine, having a very, very lucid dream that felt like it happened 10 minutes ago, and it was 15, 16 years ago. A man who identified himself with the D word, and I'm still not convinced that that's what he was, told me his name, told me how to spell it, told me his animal form, and was trying to get me to follow him with the most ridiculous things of riches and fame. And it's not radio friendly what I told him to do in the dream.
Yeah.
And he continued to mock me and try and get me to follow him. I'm giving the short version. And I just remember, again, telling him where to go, most emphatically. I did not agree. And I called on Archangel Michael in the dream. And the words do not describe the colors. I then saw this brilliant blue, silver, and white. I woke up crying, shaking, and just could not believe that this has happened. And that's not like me. And all heck did break loose in my house. It's quite a haunting that we went through. But I look back now and I always say, you know what? I wouldn't wish it on a blade of grass, meaning that I'm no better than a blade of grass. We are all one, I believe. But I also believe, did I maybe build this experience in before I incarnated into this lifetime? Because it would have taken something pretty big like this to get me on the path that I'm on now. I planned on going to school to become a doctor. Never planned on pursuing this path, and I could never see myself doing anything else but right now. So hard to say. Like I say, I do want to share what Kevin says here, because I think it's important. He said, trust your intuition. You will know if it is a dark force. Just as you shared your experience in the meditation, you can feel it. And you said you can tell it to leave, or you can focus on the light and push it away to nothingness. Absolutely. Call on your team, call on the angels, right? And I know a lot of people will say, oh, that's just woo-woo stuff. No, it's not. It really does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Yeah, according to Nathaniel, though, some of these deceivers are so good at the deception
Mhm.
that you will believe wholeheartedly that you're conversing, sharing energy with an angelic entity when you're not. And he said that's what leads up to possession. It's like I said, you have to kind of watch his, and he's done many interviews like that. So you guys can just Google his name too as well. Go on YouTube and
Mhm.
find. He's incredible to talk to. I also am in the midst of reading a book called Birthright by Timothy Alberino, which
Okay.
is brilliantly written, and it's a great depiction of like um, Adam's dominion on Earth and how like our birthright came to be. It's
Mhm.
kind of biblical. He uses a lot of biblical analogies, but excellent read. If you guys want to look into that, it's just, I highly recommend it. It's a great book. But yeah, I try to avoid that topic. But like Dell said, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah. Mhm.
you really do need to be aware. The
Yeah.
dark needs to show its face, and we call it the dark, whatever it is, these negative entities, in order for you to truly know the light. I fully agree with his statement
Mhm.
there.
Mhm. Or never mind the fact that you don't ever have to focus on it. But like you had said, it's Timothy, you said, right? Like he's talking about this from the field that he works. And we've got Father Sean on our network. He is on Eli Roth's Legion of Exorcists. Now he
Mm,
comes from I believe, the old Catholic Church. I know I've been on his show and he's been on here. He's talked about he didn't become a priest till he was 65. He doesn't even look 65. I don't know how old he is, but he's amazing on the show if you've ever seen it, because it comes from kind of people like Timothy, people from religious backgrounds, and they talk about their experiences and what they went through. And again, it's not to focus on it, but okay, so this, I'll share this with you, see if what it feels like. What spirit has shown me is, as a human being, if we had the most perfect ideal scenario to be in, there would be the perfect balance of light, perfect balance of dark, and then
mhm.
through our invisible energy centers, known as, some people call them chakras, I call them chakras, we are perfectly grounded with energy through the chakras, through our feet to the center of the earth, and then that energy runs up the chakras all the way up through our crown chakras, all the way connected to source energy. That would be the most perfect ideal scenario, I think, if we were a human being, because that's the planet we live on, right? There's always a yin for yang. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about? There's a lot of like information going around on social media where they're discovering that humans are not all humans are human, and that we're mostly hybrids. And I kind of believe that. And
You
it's
can't
funny,
believe it, or you do believe it?
you believe it
Mm-hmm.
100%. I
Mm-hmm.
do. And it's funny because my husband would always tell me, Carolann, you're not from Earth. And he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a woo-woo kind of guy,
Yep.
but he would always tease me about that and go, You're not from this planet. I don't know what planet you're from, but and I do believe um, you know, dating back thousands of years that we were hybrids. And they still are manufacturing. That's where these wonderful star children come from, that we see that they have magical gifts. I met one and it blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I actually met a starlight child when I was shopping one day, and we immediately connected. And it's funny because our mom kind of knew too. So we stopped shopping and we just talked for an hour in the store and exchanged phone numbers, because that's how special her child was. So they're still like, what do you think of that whole thing?
I'm going to tell you. So I am in contact with, I'm trying to, and I think we're going to make further, I don't think she's on Facebook very often. Again, I'm going to bring her. I sound like I'm a Beverly Rhodes fangirl. I guess I kind of am in a way. But she has brought on many of the people that she works with. And over in the UK, there's a lady that you can see them on Sean Atwood's channel again. And she has pink hair. And her name is Azria Beckham. and she uses a crystal. I call it the unicorn horn. Supposedly everybody now is calling it the unicorn horn. She calls it the unifier, but it is created like a pendulum. It swings from a very thick chain. She doesn't need to know anything about you except your name and I believe your birthday. And I have watched live the readings that I'm about to explain that she has done. It is mind-blowing how accurate they are. So what she does, she believes that indeed we all have not genetic physical DNA, but an actual, if you will, energetic lineal DNA to many off-worlders, as she calls it.
Yeah.
I think she knows of about 35 different ones, and she does a reading with the unifier and channeling them. And she is like, Ron is a co-host on Sean Atwood's channel. And God love him, but he gets very annoying sometimes because he gets so excited about this. Like, it's like, oh my God, this is Jedi stuff. He's constantly saying. She did his reading, and she actually pulled out a picture that came up with one of the off-world races. He had fairy DNA, which isn't ET, giant, and then there were a couple races off world that all connected. But when she did the reading and she read it, it described him to ET. She has done it with another guy by the name of Big Homie CC. He big guy, used to be a professional football player. Now he comes out and talks about
Sorry.
Oliver!
Oliver! So
now my
That's
dog's over.
It's
okay. So he's a big tough guy, does security for big names in Hollywood and stuff. She didn't even know his real name, okay, because he goes by Big Homie CC. She got his real name. And then on top of it, when she did his reading, he just about fell off his chair. It was so accurate. But many ties, and including to an ET race that her nor Beverly had never, ever come across before. That it's mind-blowing. So yes, I do agree.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Being a brat.
That's okay. We love dogs and cats. And hi, Oliver. Kevin says, I love that, Carolann. Love it. And then let's see, let's go a little higher. So I don't know, have you ever heard about the green kids, the green children that came from the center of the earth? I think it was back in the early 1900s. 2 children showed up. Like, where did they come from? Right?
No, I've never heard that.
You never heard of them?
No, what is that about?
So apparently, as the story goes, 2 children appeared one day in a field. They could not speak English, but they were completely green colored, right down to their hair. And if I remember how the story goes, the little boy did not survive, but the girl did, and integrated into human society and was able to learn English and the whole bit. And they were explaining they came from, I don't know where this land is, but from the center of the earth.
Oh my goodness. I never heard that. When was this? How long ago?
Let me see if I can find it. Julie just said dog calming music may help. It is free on YouTube. She might be picking up from, like, the thing I love about when Julie works with, especially your animals, she's so respectful. She can have that telepathic communication and be able to ask, are you open to this? Are you open to receiving healing? Can you tell me what's going on or whatever? I always say, we don't get the pet that we necessarily want. We get the pet that we need. Because I think all animals are earth angels, and especially with dogs, they are like a mirror of what we are either experiencing, feeling, going through on this planet, or sometimes they also can exhibit behaviors, I think, too, that give us a little jab to work on too with our healing. I'm not saying that's with Oliver. I'm not tapping into him, but Kevin says he thinks Oliver saw something outside.
Yeah, that's what it is. He doesn't like trucks. And anytime, you're right, Kevin, anytime he hears a truck, he goes bananas, poor thing. But when I hold him, he's like a big baby, and he's fine, poor thing.
We love animals on this show. And Julie just said, absolutely. Okay, the green children of Woolpit. They say it's a legend, but I don't think it's a legend. I kind of did I talk to anybody? No, it was way back in the day. But they said a boy and girl found near a wolf pit in Woolpit, England, with green skin and unfamiliar clothing. They spoke an unknown language and initially refused food. I forgot about that until they were given raw beans. While the story is often presented, they say, as a fantastical tale, there are various theories about their origin, including some people are saying being Flemish immigrants. Well, that's just from Belgium. So no, people in Belgium are not green. My grandmother was from Belgium. Or possibly having a medical condition. So there's a lot of people, though, if you dig into the lore, there's always going to be, say, people that say it's fake, but it was quite back in the day before the records like that we would now have nowadays.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where did they come from? Or you look into the Antarctic, like what's there, right?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's a
And
whole thing.
okay, so I'm going to ask you, do you think, and anybody in chat can join in, do you guys think that we have ETs on this planet already that we just don't know about, that are either living subterranean, maybe in the oceans, or maybe in an invisible craft that we're seeing? Because how many people are catching stuff in the skies that look like crafts?
Absolutely. I think they're everywhere. They're in dumbs underground, and they're everywhere.
Kevin, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I talked to a lot of ufologists as well, and they predict disclosure in 2027 because we are getting a lot of disclosure, slow leaks, but I think full disclosure will come by 2027.
Yeah, I have. Julie actually introduced me to him. She had met him in Sedona, and it was an acquaintance, Tom Dongo. I'd never heard of him before, and he said he did reach out to me. Julie helped us connect, and he said, "Listen, I'm 82 years old. I don't do podcasts anymore." And he said, I forget what I had said to him, but we ended up having a phone conversation. I am telling you, thank gosh, he had friends coming in from out of town. We could have been on the phone for 6 hours. And he's been on the show twice. He knows quite a few people high up in the U.S. Government that had to do with ufology and off-worlders. And he's an excellent remote viewer. He kind of gave us a crash course on how to begin remote viewing and how to practice it. But he said on the last show, I think it was a month and a half ago, that he had just been speaking to somebody, one of his contacts, and that he couldn't say a lot because it wasn't quite out yet and you need more details, but something to do with disclosure happening very soon.
Yeah, I spoke with Nick Pope too last Thursday. I had a live with him. That was so exciting too. So that's also on my channel. You guys can check it out. He used to be Ministry of Defense, worked for the Ministry of Defense. And he had a lot to say about disclosure as well. So yeah, it's exciting times. Everybody has a different opinion, of course. And there's always that infighting in the UFO community. You know, this one says this one says that. So I don't pay attention to that stuff. But I think disclosure is definitely going to happen I think it's earlier than 2027, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, then again, you get into, right, the Galactic Federation. Does it really exist? And you get into, it's completely just gone out of my mind. Somebody will remind me in the chat. Oh, sorry, Prime Directive, right? That you can't, if you look at Star Trek or whatever. And there are people that absolutely say they've been in contact. Then you get into the Secret Soldier program. Chris Latana, who I've had on, he's written a book about being one of the boys of Montauk at Camp Hero. And the minute he wrote the book, he's from Quebec. He's been on quite a few times. We had a really interesting show a couple of weeks ago because I've been trying to get him to talk about the Montauk chair and going off world and into the future and time travel. So he kind of got into it a bit. And, he actually said the chair. Sorry?
I have to go watch that.
Yeah, well, he's obviously been through some horrible things, but he really got into it this time. Some stuff he couldn't talk about, he said, but he's written this book. Oh God, I wish I could remember the title. Something Last Stand at Montauk, something like that. I forget what it is. I posted in the group or on the page because he's been on 3 times, but he wrote this book and he's also donating. He's never changed his story. I believe him 100%. I've known him for a year and a half now, and he's never changed his story. He's donating 10% of the proceeds to help people who have been through the things he's been through. But the interesting part about it is he wrote the book, went to publish it and sell it on Amazon. Within hours, they banned it for life instantly and banned him from ever even opening an account on Amazon to shop. Not that he really cares about the shopping. It's just the point for life, never to be even able to open an account on Amazon.
That's crazy.
So he's probably saying something that nobody wants out there. Right?
Yeah, he hit the mark.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do.
Oh, hi, Timbo. He says, definitely seems to me, I didn't read this whole comment, there are people out there who might actually come to fisticuffs if they were in a room together, both sides credible, but the info conflicts. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to get into that. How about you? Like, I just go with what resonates. And I always say it's not up to me to convince anybody to believe what I believe. Put the information out there, take what resonates, leave the rest. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I love asking the questions because I remember back in college, one of the most important lessons we learned is not so much the answer, but it's the questions.
Yes.
And that's how they try to censor us too. The minute we start asking questions, they don't like that. So they have to silence us. And that just makes my blood boil, because if you don't ask the questions, you'll never discover your own truth, whatever that may be. So I don't understand how even YouTube, I hate to say it, and Amazon, big companies like that, their censorship is just off the charts, over the edge. And they need to understand that if they're so afraid of words, what does that tell you? There's
everything you need to know, right? Yeah. And the other thing is too, that I think people are waking up and just dig you. But you know what? Okay, so again, my partner Dell has said this before, and we talk about this often. And I love that you say about asking the questions, because the big question that I think, well, this is what he's used the analogy of. As a little child, we've seen kids like this, that around the age of 3, they constantly say, why, but why, but why, but why? And it's, it gets repetitive over and over and over. But then you go to school and you're told why, because when you ask why, that's what the book says. That's just the way it is, because I said so. So by the time you finish school and you come out and you go to a job, right, we stop asking why. But I've really been looking at this, and we've had quite the in-depth conversations. Anything that's going on around us, even what you just mentioned about the words that we're using that nobody's, bigger companies don't want other people to hear. All we have to do is ask why and dig deeper to find out why, because we've stopped asking why.
Exactly. That's exactly correct. And, it tells you a lot that a lot of this became so bloody apparent 5 years ago. And we all know what happened 5 years ago.
You gotta be careful with that word, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm treading softly.
But I know
yeah, it started to become, it was before then too, but it was in a much more sublime way. Mm-hmm. And now, thank you so much too. Thank you. Freedom of speech is everything. That's why it's embedded in our Constitution.
For America. You guys, not for us Canadians, we found out over the last 5 years. You have the best Constitution.
Yeah.
Those gentlemen that wrote that Constitution, I swear they could time travel, because it is well written.
Yeah. And they were all young, the framers. Like, a lot of people picture these fuddy-duddy old guys with gray hair. A lot of them were 20, 19, 22.
But visionaries, that it's still relevant today, back when it was written.
So we take our freedom of speech very seriously. And I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment as well. And I'm blessed that I live in this country, and I'm grateful every day of my life. And I wish Canada would become our 51st state, but that's never going to happen.
Joe always teases me all the time, and ever since I've been on here 6 years in July, and he always, especially when we do panel shows, he'd say, "Yeah, we're just gonna take you guys in. You're just our brothers and sisters, just above us, and yeah, you guys are gonna become part of the U.S." And you know what? To me, 90% of my friends and acquaintances are in the US. Obviously, the beauty of the internet, we have friends all over the world, right? The majority of the people, plus, like, and again, Dal brought this up because we have these interesting conversations, and he's right. I believe it's like between 80 and 90% of most Canadians live within a 100-mile radius of the US border.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're 40 minutes away, us here where we live.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, I think it would be such a brilliant move. It would unify us. I mean, I could name 10 things out of the gate that I think would be a positive. But, you have these political egos and all this politics going on, and they don't do, even here, they don't do what's best for the people. It's always embedded and surrounded by political egos. So, but anyway.
I always try to stay out of that, though. Like, actually, Michelle just said, honestly, it always confused her being over in Australia, how some land can be different countries. Well, look at now, I'm probably going to start it. We're almost over. And I know you're not connected, but and I'm sure you've heard this in Australia about New Zealand. People think it's almost the same thing, and it's not.
No.
It's two different countries. So the thing is, right, I don't know. I'm not living with my head in a bubble or in the clouds, but I just try to focus on what I want to see, not what I don't, because I believe as human beings, we have never been taught to understand how incredible we really are and how gifted. I know we are capable of telepathy, telekinesis. I know that some of us, it comes naturally. Some of us maybe need to, almost like getting back on a bike after being off of it for many years. I think we can connect with these gifts. And I think that that's what they don't want us to find out, is how amazing we really are.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think there's fluoride in the water? Not for your teeth, I can tell you that much.
Oh, gosh, we could do a whole show. You know what, Carolann? This has gone by so quickly. Everybody is saying they've had such a great time. I would love to have you back on because we're almost out of time.
And I want to have you back on my show. Seriously, I'm going to be emailing you as soon as we're done.
Just hit me up. You know what? You and I can chat on Messenger. Everybody's going, I love this show. I love this show tonight. And we didn't know what we were even going to talk about. And I had said this on Sean's show last night, Sean Kelly. We actually did an hour talking about death and dying. And it was an interesting conversation. And he admitted on there, he goes, sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I said, before every show, honestly, I just say, okay, Spirit, where are we going with this? And I really love having
conversations. They really are. They're the most genuine fun for me.
Mm-hmm. So tell people again where they can get a hold of you. I'm really glad you brought up about the Friday lives. Please don't forget to tell, because I didn't know about that now till you just mentioned it. So please tell everybody where to find you, what you got going on, if you got anything coming up you want to share.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a good roster coming up for the summer. A lot of interesting interviews. And Michelle and I, once a month, are doing uncensored conspiracy theories. And
I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm. We're on number 3, so definitely check that out. I run the repeats on my show on Fridays. Mm-hmm. So Friday at 3:00, I air the replays, and they're all recent, like within a week or 2 or so. And then Thursday between the hours of 5 and 7 is my live show. That's Eastern time as well. And that's Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. I know it's wordy, but when I was creating it, it just spoke to me. And I knew, like, Spirit told me, you have to call your show this. So I just did. It's kind of wordy, but.
I don't think it's wordy. I like the name of it. It tells people, it doesn't spell it out, but it lets people know we're going to be talking about cool topics, basically. Well, I loved having you on. You guys, I'm so glad people popped out in the chat that we haven't maybe seen before. We love having you here. Heidi Gall just said, thank you, Lorilei and Carolann. Loved every moment. Well, we love all of you here.
Thank you so much. She's a blessing.
Oh, I know everybody here. And I want to thank you. Please stay tuned for the Light Gate coming up right after this with Preston Dennett and Dolly Saffron. So I have a great show planned for you. Please don't forget to tune in for episode 2 of Beneath the Hollow Moon with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn and myself, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget, Carrie Lynn has Spirit Switchboard on Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if you ever want to get a hold of me, I do psychic and mediumship readings. I do energy healing. I do crystal Reiki. I do Akashic Records. I also do spiritual teaching and mentoring. Right now, you can get a hold of me at facebook.com/The Angel Rock or any social media platform. And I'm on anyone you can think of. I'm probably on there. I am working on putting out my first course with one of my closest friends, Leanne Clark. I call her the Crystal Wizardress, but you can find her under the Crystal Architect on either Facebook or Instagram. And we haven't come up with a name yet, but we're hoping for anybody that maybe wants to brush up on their connection to their intuition or spiritual path or build a really solid foundation. That's what we're hoping to put out. It'll either be probably around July, depending on how many people are traveling or away for the summer. Otherwise, it will be in September. We're hoping to build a really great community, have a lot of fun with that. We've even got some advanced courses. We're hoping to keep it very economical for people. I only mention that because that is when I will finally be migrating to a domain name. Because Facebook, I'm sorry, but you're not serving me well with my business page as much as I would like. Don't forget to tune in to Carolann right on Thursday as well, 5 p.m. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It was a blessing. Thank you
for me.
Thank you.
Much love and light, guys. Stay tuned for Dolly and Preston coming up next. We'll see you on Thursday.
Take care.